Welcome to a new episode of TTG Conversations 5 Questions video series. I'm Karen Yu, Group Editor of TTG Asia Media. In this episode, we will look at the growing appeal of travel as a tool for customer engagement. Taking us through this topic is Rohan Bhalla, who is the Vice President of Business Solutions Asia Pacific at Collinson. Hello, Rohan. Nice to see you again, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Karen. It's great to see you, and it's fantastic to be here as well.
I've got 5 questions for you, and here's the first. Now, back in 2023, Collinson published a report that looked into customer engagement and loyalty in Asia Pacific, and it found a strong lure of travel-related rewards and the beneficial customer engagement outcomes that such rewards bring to non-travel companies like banks and credit card firms. Now, 3 years on, has travel-related rewards become even more powerful engagement tools for non-travel companies?
Yes, Karen. I mean, they have only grown from strength to strength. Travel rewards, the power and influence that travel has on consumer behavior is only getting stronger. Mm-hmm. And what we've identified is there are 2 key reasons for this. The first is that there is a real increase in travel, which means there are more people traveling more often. Mm-hmm. If we look into IATA data, we'll see that globally, IATA says that in 2026, the growth in air travel is going to be 4.6% over last year, which is approximately 6 billion people globally who will be traveling. Mm-hmm. For APAC, that growth is about 7%. Mm-hmm. So it's way more than the global average. So when we bring it back home to APAC, to our markets, there is definitely an upward trend in more people making more travel. So with that, there's a big influence of what travel means for them. The second thing that we see is that there's an evolving purpose of travel. Trip planning is moving from being just about traditional itineraries to having high-value, unique experiences that reflect the personal passions of the travelers. And what this means is there's more conscious choice that people are making into when they're traveling, where they're traveling, what kind of trips they're taking. And this opens up the opportunities for brands to really engage customers at a deeper level, which influences what they're thinking and what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And we've done a couple of research over the last year, 2 years. One of them was a 2025 study we did around consumer happiness. And what we found in that study is that consumers look to brands to provide them with transformative experiences, which translates into greater happiness. And travel is one of those transformative experiences. And what we find is that this accrues back to brands where 46% of respondents said that they consistently purchase from that brand, and 42% said that they would recommend the brand that provides them with such transformative experiences. Another study we did is a sports and wellness study around travel. So travel for sports and wellness, which we did actually earlier this year. And that reconfirms some of this. So in that, we find that 83% of APAC travelers were influenced to pick their credit card based on the travel benefits that it offered. And they said that these benefits encouraged them to spend more on the cards and just feel more valued having these benefits. So travel benefits are here. They're here to stay. They're only growing from strength to strength. And, it's this trend and growth in travel, which is influencing a lot of it. And the passion that we have as individuals for travel. So definitely there.
Now, I noticed that banks and credit card companies are not a common, or rather they tend to use travel as a reward for customers. Are there non-travel companies that are doing the same into their loyalty redemption programs?
So there are. And I'll quote a book. So there's a journalist and author by the name of Ash Bhardwaj, and he'd written a book which is titled Why We Travel. And what Ash says in this book is that travel is one of life's greatest ambitions alongside home ownership and family, with many of us putting travel at the top of our life lists, right? So, I mean, it's that. So if you think about Maslow's hierarchy, right? So travel is sitting at the nirvana, right there for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I think it's that passion, that aspirational value that travel has. And a lot of brands are now tapping into this. So there's a study done in 2024 by a loyalty brand called Ariva. And they have a staggering stat that 95% of companies have some sort of travel reward in their loyalty programs. So across the board, if to your question that is it just travel brands or non-travel brands, it is pretty much everyone that's doing it. Now, what's happening is that the hygiene has become points. So every brand has got a hygiene layer which says that if I have a currency in my loyalty program, I am then allowing you to trade that currency towards a travel brand. So it could be an airline, could be a hotel. So transfer your points out. So that's become like the baseline hygiene, which is why, that 95% stat is there. But if you look at examples, look at grocery retail, U Rewards. U Rewards allows you to transfer your points to KrisFlyer miles. So there is a travel component associated with that. This is across actually most retailers. So if you look at Tesco in the UK, Coles and Woolworths in Australia, all of them have strong brand partnerships with airlines, which allows you to make those transfers. In fact, for most airlines, they earn more points on ground than they do on air. Right, so it's just the amount of pure points which they're giving out. So that's a big driver. Financial services brands are definitely leaders with this, where they've been offering travel rewards as part of the credit card programs for a long time, and in fact, cardholders are very attuned to this. So in studies that we've done, 3 out of 4 cardholders would expect a travel benefit as part of a premium card. So it's no longer just something which you can choose to have, it's an expectation, and they will then go to those cards that offer them those benefits. If we look into insurance, we find that there are a lot of insurers that are looking at travel benefits and including them into their policies. We work very closely with Sompo and Tune Protect, which have both got travel benefits as part of their travel insurance policies and other policies as well, to bring that travel connection back. In telecommunications, we see the same thing happening. We work very closely with Telstra in Australia and other brands across the globe, where they're looking at how do they incorporate travel rewards as part of the entire telecommunication journey with a focus on roaming. eSIMs have become very popular. I think everyone's offering eSIMs. Suddenly you get so many ads saying that. So that's another one we've seen. Super apps, Grab offers lounge access as part of their travel rewards. So it's embedded in almost everything. And most interestingly, I got a digital ad recently from a Singapore brand called Rently. I don't know if you've heard of that, but they are providing you the opportunity to pay your rent through them, and they give you points. And the biggest hook, the ad was all about how you can convert those points to travel and a trip in Bali or somewhere. So every brand at every level is leveraging this travel which is in our DNA to see how they can engage customers. So this is happening everywhere. It's only growing and it's happening everywhere.
Right. Well, I know Collinson specialty is in the lounge access. But what sort of travel perks are most in demand now, and what are starting to excite customers?
So I'd bucket them into 2. So the first bucket really is what I would call evergreen benefits. These are benefits that elevate the travel journey. They make it more comfortable, and they typically set the tone for the full travel itself. In our 2026 study on sports and wellness, which I mentioned earlier, what comes out at top is things like fast track through airports, airport lounge access, as well as airport transfers. So these kind of benefits are what I term as evergreen, which really improve the comfort in the journey. And 50% of respondents said that access to these benefits significantly enhance how they enjoy their trip. So those benefits are there, they're important, and they continuously become grow and become more important. The other bucket which is emerging, which we find coming up more and more in conversation, is curated experiences. This is where travelers, we travel for passion pursuits, and it's more than just a destination. And this is particular with younger generations. It's across generations, but particularly with younger generations, they are looking at curating journeys around more memorable experiences. I know, last year when we had that entire thing about White Lotus, and I think you had, guests from Expedia talking about how people wanted to go and experience those things. So there's a lot of this kind of passion pursuits that we're doing. And brands that are able to tap into these kind of opportunities really enhance their leverage with the cardholders or customers. American Express is one such brand where they've tied up with the Grand Prix. with Formula One, and they're offering their card members exclusive Grand Prix access. So what we're finding as part of these experiences is sports and wellness are two areas which are growing a lot. And as industries, they're growing, but as travel, they're really growing. And people are traveling to experience either wellness retreats, wellness benefits, marathons, running marathons for their own, physical wellness, or traveling to experience sporting events. And we find, football is usually right on top, and then there's motorsports and tennis, and people then start creating trips around this. So it's not just about going to one place and back, but then you create multi-city itineraries starting with something like this. So it's these experiences which are getting more and more popular amongst customers, and that's the kind of perks that's really starting to excite customers, is when they can get access to some of these things, whether it's a concert or tickets or a private area and so on and so forth. But that's the trend that we're seeing at the moment.
Right. Rohan, you mentioned how travel perks are now like a hygiene layer, hygiene factor that all brands must offer their customers. But but as consumers become so well traveled themselves and have the ability to buy themselves an elevated travel experience, such as club rooms or airport lounge access, will travel rewards lose their shine or face certain evolution to gain the same high level of customer engagement?
I would certainly hope not. That's the core of what we do. But I mean, at a more serious level, right? The democratization of travel creates opportunities for brands to look into specific traveler needs and expectations. Not every traveler is the same, and not each travel, mimics itself. So as even myself, one travel is maybe for work, one is leisure with, the full family, with, extended family. Every travel has a different sense, a different purpose, and a different need. And it's really the ability to identify and adapt to those situations which will enable brands to continue gaining the high level of customer engagement that travel benefits provide. Now, there are multiple ways in which this can play out. So there's a generational aspect to it. I mentioned earlier from our research, what we find is that younger generations, which is typically millennials and Gen Zs, they tend to have more expectations on sports, wellness. In fact, a third of all millennials and Gen Zs said they would book wellness trips to digitally detox, which was much higher than older generations would do something like that. So it's the ability to identify what the purpose of travel is, and then take those valuable insights in targeting those customers with relevant travel rewards and creating a customer value proposition around those. So it becomes a little around the personalization of the rewards that starts to matter, rather than just a bland apply it everywhere. What we've also been seeing is that there's an expansion of benefit categories that we're seeing. So even within airports, for example, we're seeing airports transforming themselves to cater to some of these customer behaviors. You start finding more wellness spaces in airports, things you wouldn't have seen 5-10 years back. You start finding more food options in airports, which are even tuned towards healthier food, not just the typical burgers and pizza. Exactly. So I think the ecosystem is evolving, and as that ecosystem evolves, there are more vertical offerings within travel that we're starting to get access to. So taking wellness, for example, in response to the growing wellness, we have, as Priority Pass, have been working on how we expand our network and even drive our partners to think about wellness. So we've got various kinds of I would say various kinds of experiences within wellness that are available at different airports. There is, steam baths, capsule hotels. There is onsens in lounges in Japan. In Hong Kong, we have a Kaira lounge, which has a pre-flight experience that's inspired by the cycle of the sun. So depending on when you're going, there are different levels of energy, areas for recharge, focus that they've created. In Singapore, we've got Natureland spas that are now at the airport, are part of the experience ecosystem. But taking that one step further, what we've also done is we've partnered with a digital wellness brand called With You. And we have a joint venture with them, which we've rolled out, which is called Travel Well. And that is a digital wellness that sits within the Priority Pass app. And through that, you can access exercises, pre-flight exercises, jet lag management, meditation, and so on. So there's a lot more that we are expanding into as part of the benefit ecosystem that customers have access to. So I don't think we would have a saturation of the benefit just because people are traveling and access to it. I think it's how you then present that back to the customers, how it is relevant to them, and how you can go deeper and work with, like what we're doing with our partners, on curating more that is relevant to customer needs.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, last question. Now, looking ahead, what business opportunities are there in travel-related rewards for travel and tourism suppliers?
So I would say that the biggest opportunity is in leveraging travel rewards as a powerful growth engine, one that drives revenue acquisition and long-term value. So it's really about thinking of how you position these rewards and what you're getting out of it. Overall, a big part of how travel rewards work today is that transactional level of point exchange, but that doesn't really build any emotional connect with the brands. However, there's a larger opportunity, especially for non-travel brands, for travel and tourism suppliers, to think about how they strengthen that emotional connection to engage customers across the entire journey of travel, which means you can have travel as tiers rather than just as points. So with different tiers of customers, different levels of customers, how do you create always on benefits for them that are travel related? If you look at airline programs, and they do this really well, on your top tiers, the big benefit is lounge access. It's priority baggage check-in. How do you replicate some of those emotional connections rather than just the transactional point exchange? There's also the ability to incentivize customer action based on signals of travel intent that you get. So if I'm buying Forex on, or if I'm loading up a travel card, already that's a signal telling me I'm going to travel. So use that signal and engage the customer with some relevant actions, communication, and benefits. If I'm activating a roaming plan, I'm going somewhere, and with the roaming plans, you also know where you're going. So you can then create relevant cross-border offers that are meaningful to those customers. So it's about being in the moment and working with your customer signals to see what you can do. There's also broadening of the offers. So going across the airport ecosystem to the entire, what we call in Collinson the day of journey. So from the time I leave the house to the time I board the plane and get to my destination and get to the hotel and so on, there are so many moments in that journey that I as a brand can work on influencing and impacting. And each of the moments add to the customer's overall travel experience and build on to their affinity towards brands that can help alleviate any kind of challenges or take the experience to another level. And it's about identifying those points of engagement and going beyond an ecosystem of just it's one benefit at one point of time that you can offer. So I think that's really the opportunity, is to look at an interconnected loyalty ecosystem where you can bring benefits to customer needs and engage them across the entire journey.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, Rohan, and for the very hearty conversation about travel rewards.
No, thanks so much, Karen. Appreciate that.
Past and future episodes of TTG Conversations 5 Questions can be found on the TTG YouTube channel. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye.